Уважаемые дамы и господа, пожалуйста, пройдите к своим местам. Мы начинаем свою конференцию. Okay. Good day, dear for Turkmenland, in the beautiful Avaza National Tourism Zone located on the shores of the Caspian Sea, and to see you at the high-level Parliamentary Forum. Уважаемые участники конференции, принятие на 63-м пленарном заседании 79-й сессии Генеральной Ассамблеи Организации Объединенных Наций единогласной резолюцией «Дополнительная информация к порядку проведения Третьей конференции ООН по развивающейся в Туркменистане мы воспринимаем как большое доверие и уважение к нашей стране, нейтральный статус, который был трижды признан в сообществе наций.
Within the framework of this international conference, which is being held with the wide representation of the countries, the international organization around the world, organization of number of parallel events, including Parliamentary Forum, were planned. Dear participants of the conference, today our Parliamentary Forum is attended by the delegations from the 30 countries situated in the different parts of the world. The members of the Parliament's experts, scientists, and representatives of the international organizations and civil public organizations, as well as United Nations Under-Secretary General High Representative of the least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, Mr. Fatima Rabab. Dear participants of the conference, Dear participants of the conference, on the initiative of Turkmenistan, which promotes the principles of the peace-loving and neutrality in the world community, the United Nations adopted many resolutions on peace and security, the importance of dialogue and principles of neutrality in achieving mutual trust and creation energy means and transport transit corridors. These resolutions strengthened the legal and documentary basis of the international cooperation in the relevant fields. The Declaration of 2025 as the International Year of Peace and Trust on the initiative of Turkmenistan is also evidence that our country's humanitarian state policy, which focuses on universal human interests, thanks to the tireless efforts of the national leader of the Turkmen people, the chairman of Halk Maslahatı, Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, and our esteemed president, Serdar Berdimuhamedov, significant work is being done to strengthen the international cooperation in ensuring peace and security in the world and achieving sustainable development goals. Achieving sustainable development goal is a key objective of the Turkmenistan socio-economic policy. Under the leadership of our esteemed President Serdar Berdimuhamedov, Turkmenistan is successfully implementing comprehensive national programs aimed at expanding transport and communication systems. Turkmenistan is committed to developing mutually beneficial cooperation in the transport sector, as well as confirming its strategic position as an important transport between Europe and Russia. The work carried out on the international transport corridors opening the north-south, east-west directions, the implementation of Kazakhstan-Turkmenistan, Iran railway corridor, the Kerki, Imam Nazar, Akina, and Serkadabad Turgundi railway projects are a clear demonstration of the implementation of the reforms aimed at developing transport infrastructure. For the purpose of reviving Grey Silk Road, the modernizing multimodal routes, the work carried out within the framework of the International Transport Corridor Europe-Asia helps to strengthen Turkmenistan's position as the important link in the international transit corridor. The fact that United Nations General Assembly declared November 26, 2016, the date of holding the first global conference on the sustainable transport system in our capital, Ashgabat, as the World Sustainable Transport Day. Independent, permanently neutral Turkmenistan has made a worthy contribution to the efforts being made by the world community, recognizing that joining the main international conventions in this area. These include the Convention on the Transit Trade between the landlocked states, on cargo marking, on tonnage measurement of the ships for the suppression of unlawful acts in respect of international civil aviation, and other agreements and conventions related to the establishment of the international transport and transit corridor. The introduction of generally recognized norms of the international law into the national legislation gives an opportunity to accelerate Turkmenistan's successful integration into the international legal, political, and economic space. Laws of Turkmenistan have been adopted to strengthen the legal foundation of transport diplomacy, further strengthen the capabilities of the state's transport sector, improve legislation in this area, and establishment the foundation of Turkmenistan's transport policy, transport safety, and motor road, railway area, and sea routes. The broad representative on the participation on the conference, which is being held in Avaza National Tourism Zone, and the importance of the issues to be discussed clearly. Dear participants of the conference, supporting the landlocked developing countries in establishing and expanding their sustainable transport systems and connecting them to international markets, trade, and tourism, including ensuring the uninterrupted movement of the people and goods across the transport and transit corridors, and encouraging them to join efforts on these issues are among the key tasks. Access to energy infrastructure, information and communication technologies is also of great importance. In order to ensure uninterrupted transport services in the landlocked developing countries, it will be useful to allocate large-scale investments and financial resources, widely use the capability of the digital system, and introduce new technologies to eliminate Effective and efficient transport corridors require consistent improvement and implementations of agreed legal norms, regulations, and policies. The promotion of the implementation of science-based initiatives, including bilateral, multilateral partnership, and the participation of the interested parties are also one of the key tasks. Turkmenistan actively participate in the work carried out by the UN Office of High Representative for the Least Developed Countries, Landlocked Developing Countries, and Small Island Developing Countries, and is following above mentioned tasks our today's Parliamentary Forum. And next floor is given to Mrs. Fatima, Under Secretary General of the United Nations. Dear participants of the conference, the main objective of the Parliamentary Forum is to provide parliamentarians, the staff, with priority directions of the Programme of Action 2024-2033 for landlocked developing countries in particular, the key policy insights on the implementation of the Vienna Programme of Action, to create opportunities for the parliaments to effectively contribute to the implementation of the new program of the action. A parliamentary forum will serve as the new platform to accelerate the achievement of new program of action through the political actions and tasks at the local, national, and regional levels to support the work being implemented in this area. Dear participants of the conference, today parliamentarism is the most widespread democratic institution in promoting the human state policy and international cooperation, as well as in developing perfect civil society. As you know, in order to ensure access in international and regional markets for the landlocked developing countries, it is considered advisable to strengthen the contractual and legal basis for cooperation, improve environmentally sustainable transport routes, improve access to customs procedures, traffic rules, security, digital circulation, information communication technologies, investment activity. Parliament assists in formulating, implementing, evaluating, monitoring, and ensuring the fulfillment of commitments in the national programs. Parliaments prepare the laws, determine the budget, and ensure its timely approval, along with the mutually agreed documents that contribute to the implementation of the new program of action, facilitating trade, developing infrastructure. And dear participants of the conference, I would like to wish you sound health, family well-being, and success in your works, and invite you to actively participate in the work of this forum to ensure its successful holding. Thank you for your attention. Dear participants of the conference, now next floor is given to the Under Secretary General High Representative for the Least Developed Countries, Landlocked Developing Countries, and Small Island Developing Countries, Mrs. Fatima Rabab, please.
Honorable Dunia Gosel Gulmanova, Chairperson of the Assembly of Turkmenistan and co-organizer of this Parliamentary Forum, His Excellency Philemon Young, President of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly, Her Excellency Ms. S. Mikhailova, Vice President of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, distinguished members of Parliament, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you all. It is my honor to join Honorable Gulmanova, Chairperson of the Assembly of Turkmenistan, to welcome you to the Parliamentary Forum of the Third United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries. And I would like to take this opportunity at the outset to thank our Honorable Chairperson here for her personal commitment and leadership in organizing this important forum here. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the President of the General Assembly for honoring us with his kind presence here today. Sir, your presence here is a powerful message, a message of commitment to shaping the future of the 600 million people living in the world's 32 landlocked developing countries. Honorable parliamentarians, we meet at a defining moment. The development challenges faced by the LLDCs are persistent and structural. They're shaped not only by geography, but by limited connectivity, narrow export bases, and constrained fiscal space. The numbers speak for themselves. Take, for instance, the LLDCs account for 7% of the world's population, but just 1% of global GDP. Trade costs are 30% higher than those for coastal countries. Only 61% of the population in the LLDCs have access to electricity compared to 92% globally. And only 39% have access to the internet. These are not just statistics. They reflect real human challenges. Farmers unable to export their produce, entrepreneurs locked out of global markets, and young people whose potential remains untapped. The adoption of the Awaza Programme of Action for LLDCs by the UN General Assembly for the decade 2024 to 2034 marks a milestone. It offers a clear, actionable blueprint to transform these challenges into drivers of sustainable development and structural transformation grounded in principles of equity, resilience, and partnerships. Its success, however, will depend on one key factor: implementation. This is where your leadership as parliamentarians is critical. You hold the constitutional mandate and the authority to turn global commitments into national actions through legislation, oversight, and budgetary allocations. The Awaza Programme of Action explicitly calls for the active engagement of parliamentarians in reviewing implementation, passing enabling laws, allocating resources, and ensuring that no one is left behind. Excellencies, allow me to highlight 5 areas where your leadership can make a transformative difference. First, parliamentarians can play a critical role to align national development strategies with the new Programme of Action, the APOA Programme of Action priorities, from transport to trade, energy to education. Targeted legislative action is essential to translate APOA's international commitments into actionable national policies, mobilizing resources, and driving measurable progress. Without these alignment, Excellencies, progress will remain fragmented and slow. Second, it is critical to ensure adequate and sustained budgetary support to implement the Awaza Programme of Action's targets and commitments. Infrastructure gaps are vast. LLDCs need nearly 200,000 kilometers of additional roads and over 46,000 kilometers of new railways. Likewise, electrification remains low, with only 61%, as I mentioned earlier, having access to electricity. Parliaments can ensure that resources are allocated where they are most needed. Third, your role in advancing trade and regional integration is vital. LLDCs account for only 1.1% of global merchandise exports, and 81% of those exports are still in primary commodities. This underlines the urgent need to diversify economies and strengthen production capacity. Greater integration into regional and global markets through initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area, the Eurasian Economic Union, or the South Asian Free Trade Agreement, among others, offers a clear path to diversifying exports and enhancing competitiveness. But for these frameworks to deliver results, they must be ratified, implemented, and actively monitored. And that would require your leadership, parliamentary leadership, through enacting relevant laws, ratifying trade and transit agreements, and ensuring their effective and timely implementation. Fourth, parliaments must champion good governance, transparency, and accountability. Progress will not be sustainable without accountability. Through parliamentary scrutiny, transparency measures, and citizen engagement, you can help build institutions that are trusted, inclusive, and resilient, and consistent with SDG 16. Fifth and finally, Excellencies, I would like to propose for your kind consideration the establishment of a dedicated parliamentary caucus on the Awaza Programme of Action in your national parliaments for a structured follow-up and oversight mechanism for its implementation. Such multi-party caucuses, drawing on successful models like climate change or Women's Parliamentary Caucus in many countries, would ensure sustained political engagement, cross-party cooperation, and continuity across electoral cycles. They can coordinate and oversee progress and engage all stakeholders in delivering results. Honorable parliamentarians, Excellencies, you are lawmakers, you are budget makers and champions of change. Your leadership is essential to ensure that the Awaza Programme of Action delivers tangible and lasting results for the 600 million people of the LLDCs. And this forum offers a timely platform to strengthen partnerships, exchange good practices, and reaffirm the central role of parliaments in development. As you return to your capitals, I urge you to bring the priorities of the Awaza Programme of Action to your national debates, committee deliberations, and legislative agendas. Let us work together, Excellencies, to ensure that geography does not define your destiny and that landlocked countries are not left behind but move forward with purpose and progress. I wish you all a successful and productive forum, and I look forward to the outcome of the discussions. I thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fatima Rabab. We also believe that this parliamentary forum will contribute to the increased cooperation in the providing parliamentary support of the new program of action for the landlocked developing countries. Dear participants of the conference, next floor is given with a great respect to the President of United Nations General Assembly, Mr. Philemon Young.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be here with you in this beautiful city. Her Excellency, Ms. Gulmanova, Speaker of the Majlis of Turkmenistan, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Parliaments are essential to translating global commitments into real, measurable progress at the national level. Landlocked developing countries are no exception. The parliaments will play a decisive role in ensuring the successful implementation of the new program of action, transforming its priorities into tangible actions that directly benefit their citizens. On the broader governance agenda, parliaments establish legal frameworks that facilitate trade, develop infrastructure, foster innovation, and advance regional integration and connectivity. They also have a key role in addressing climate action, a state responsibility affirmed recently by the International Court of Justice in its July 2025 advisory opinion. These priorities are central to the new program of action and indispensable to unlocking the development potential of landlocked countries. Parliaments all over the world have budgetary and oversight powers that allow them to direct resources to critical industries and sectors. That includes the delivery of social services and prioritizing climate action. Parliaments monitor government performance and ensure the efficient use of public funds, Parliaments supervise the activities of our modern governments in all parts of the world. Our parliaments have turned national plans into real, measurable results. Beyond policy and budgets, parliaments serve as a bridge between the state and its citizens. Your parliaments have the ability to engage communities, raise awareness of the unique challenges facing landlocked countries, and build public trust in the democratic process. Democratic process enables all populations to participate in the political activities of every nation, the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. By doing so, they help to mobilize both domestic consensus and international support. Your Excellencies, parliaments are also critical to peace and security, which are themselves essential for sustainable development. Nothing good can happen when there is no peace and security. Far too often, conflict and instability have destroyed hard-won gains, disrupting infrastructure projects, severing trade corridors, and blocking regional cooperation. Dialogue and diplomacy must replace conflict and instability. Parliaments promote inclusive political processes that allow all voices to be heard, preventing marginalization and the consolidation of grievances. Indeed, by upholding good governance and the rule of law, parliaments ensure that disputes are resolved through our institutions. Our institutions are powerful enough to resolve all disputes peacefully. This forum's emphasis on strengthening accountable institutions reflect a shared understanding. We understand that those same human institutions are the very foundation of peace, resilient societies. We must create peace in the human societies we have created all over the world. Looking ahead, stronger interparliamentary cooperation within and across regions will be critical to advancing stability and forging peaceful solutions to the complex challenges landlocked countries face. We must never forget that the challenges we face come along with hidden opportunities. Your Excellencies, I encourage all parliaments to take an active role in enacting legislation, allocating resources, and overseeing implementation. That will ensure that the commitments of the Awaza Programme of Action are fulfilled, not only on paper, but in practice. As national parliaments lead these efforts at home, the international community must do its part. In that spirit, the General Assembly, our shared chamber of deliberation, will continue to serve as the parliament of humanity, tracking global progress, upholding collective accountability, and ensuring that the priorities of landlocked developing countries remain firmly on the international agenda. Let us strengthen this partnership between national parliaments and our global institutions. That is necessary so that we will deliver on the promise of suitable development. That promise is grounded in peace, prosperity, and dignity for everyone, everywhere. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Philemon Yang. It is a great pleasure and honor for us to know that the United Nations General Assembly consistently supports Turkmenistan's initiatives and adopts resolutions aimed at the universal human interests. This glorifies the peace-loving state policy of our country, which is reaching new heights of the development of the new era. This active participation of the United Nations in the international events of the regional and global significance provides a great impetus for clarifying and implementing the set tasks. Interparliamentary Union makes a significant contribution to the growing importance of parliamentary diplomacy, which plays a key role in the interstate relations and global development. Now, with the deep respect, we request Vice President, the Executive Committee of the Interparliamentary Union, Mrs. Seval Myakilova.
Honorable members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. It is a true honor to address at the opening of this important parliamentary forum held in the context of the third United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries. As Vice President of the IPU Executive Committee, I am delighted to be here with you today and to welcome you on behalf of the Interparliamentary Union and its leadership, President Sule Aksun and Secretary General Martin Chungkong. First of all, I would like to thank Turkmenistan for warm hospitality. We convene under a compelling theme, charting the course, advancing the Avaza Programme of Action for LLDCs. This theme goes beyond policy direction. It is a rallying cry. It acknowledges both the urgent challenges and the untapped potential facing the 32 landlocked developing countries, home to more than 5 million people. As legislators, our responsibility is to transform international commitments into tangible national progress. The Sustainable Development Goals and the Avaza Plan of Action are not separate tracks. They are intrinsically linked. Both urge us to strengthen our institutions, promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, and above all, to face the climate crisis with unity and resolve. For over 2 decades, the IPU has partnered with UNOHRLS and co-hosted parallel parliamentary forums to major conferences. We have also actively contributed to policy dialogues to help foster sustainable development, innovation, and meaningful partnerships that can drive real progress in these countries. Many LLDCs remain among the world's poorest, with 16 also classified as least developed countries. Their landlocked status imposes high trade costs, impedes diversification, and limits access to global markets. At the same time, these countries are on the front lines of the climate crisis, facing increasing exposure to disasters and setbacks in human development. The Avaza Action of Plan responds to these urgent realities. It provides concrete guidance on the enhancing transit connectivity, investing in renewable energy, fostering regional cooperation, and driving structural transformation. These priorities align directly with several key SDGs, particularly goals 7, 9, 13, and 17. As parliamentarians, we must support these priorities with strong legislation, sound public investment, and sustained oversight. This is not only a matter of development, it is a question of equity and resilience in a changing world. Parliaments are uniquely placed to bring the Avaza Programme of Action to life. This bold agenda offers practical solutions in areas like trade facilitation, infrastructure, technology, and climate adaptation. It also creates an opportunity to better align domestic action with regional strategies and global frameworks, ensuring a coherent path to sustainable and inclusive development. But what does it mean in practice? These are several key actions we can take. First, support the integration of the Avaza Programme of Action into national legislative frameworks and planning processes. The Avaza Programme of Action offers a valuable lens through which LLDCs can accelerate sustainable and inclusive development, helping to ensure coherence between national priorities and international commitments in a way that is specific for the region. Raise awareness among fellow legislators and key committees. The Avaza Programme of Action is a pathway to economic diversification and value creation, enabling LLDCs to move up the global value chain and reduce dependency on raw commodities. And the last, mobilize resources and partnership to help LLDCs build the infrastructure they need, not only to trade, but to thrive. Investment in connectivity, green energy, and innovation is essential to building resilience and unlocking long-term prosperity. The IPU stands ready to support parliamentary wishing to deepen its engagement and strengthen its role in advancing sustainable development and climate action in LLDCs. Distinguished colleagues, this forum is an opportunity to reflect, share best practices, build new partnerships, and put forward actionable recommendations. Let us seize this moment to recommit to our shared objective, ensuring that no one, no person, no nation is left behind. I wish you all productive, inspiring, and forward-looking discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mikhailova. The participation of the members of the Interparliamentary Union in the events organized jointly with the United Nations will help clarify the set tasks and present proposals for the implementations. Dear participants of the conference, the work of the Parliamentary Forum defining the direction, promoting the Avaza Programme of Action for the landlocked developing countries will be continued in the thematic sessions in the three main areas, namely, first session is entitled From Vienna to Avaza, Unresolved Challenges, Lessons Learned and Emerging Opportunities. Second session is entitled Shaping and Strengthening a Multilateral Trading System that Delivers for All Landlocked Developing Countries. Third session will continue with the theme Building Peace, Trust and Accountable Governance, enabling conditions for the sustainable development in LLD's countries. The topics will be discussed in the sessions include important tasks in trade, governance, accountability, and cooperation, and directly impact on the role of the parliaments in the development of the landlocked countries. Dear participants of the conference, once again, I would like to wish each of you all the best in the world and invite you to make a worthy contribution to the effectiveness of this forum. Thank you.
May I request everyone, the honorable parliamentarians, to please join us on the podium.
كده صورنا حاسب عبد الله امشي عبد الله عبد الله امشي امشي عادي امشي والله من هذا؟ لا تروح نجي عبد الله وين؟
For first session. For first session, please take your seats.
Good morning. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I cordially greet you all at the first thematic session of the Parliamentary Forum organized in the framework of the Third United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries. As the Speaker of the Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, I would like to express my great pleasure of chairing this session. Taking this opportunity, I would like to thank our host country, brotherly Turkmenistan, and its parliament for a warm welcome, hospitality, and excellent organization of this forum. I would also like to commend our co-organizer, Office of the High Representative for the Least Developed Countries, Landlocked Developing Countries, and Small Island Developing States for the initiative to involve the parliaments into these discussions in partnership with the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Distinguished colleagues, today's forum is the recognition of the role that parliaments can play in the formulation and implementation of the policies and programs in landlocked developing countries, transit countries and development partners, and also in implementation of the undertaken commitments and priorities of the Programme of Actions for LLDCs. Indeed, parliaments possess important legislative, budgeting, and oversight tools to support accomplishing identified goals. Being representatives of the people, parliaments are also the first to interact with them. Thus, acting as a bridge between the governments and people, parliaments are able to listen and bring up any views and ideas that civil society put forward. And I also would like to highlight the importance of interparliamentary cooperation, which transcends national boundaries and takes activities of parliaments to international level. Discussing ideas and sharing experiences will undoubtedly add new perspectives to our work, and such forums can help to unite our efforts and coordinate our activities. Dear participants, our session will look into unresolved challenges and lessons learned from the Vienna Programme of Action and the way to move forward to the Avaza Programme of Action. Before introducing and giving the floor to our esteemed panelists, I would like to highlight that national development, regional cooperation, and international support and partnerships should remain as the key determinants of any present and future activities. It is crucial for implementation of the 2030 Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals, and for leaving no one behind. Taking into consideration the aforementioned, I would like to briefly inform you on the experience of my country, Azerbaijan. Being a landlocked country, initiatives taken by Azerbaijan has turned geographic constraints into opportunity. In recent years, Azerbaijan has invested billions of dollars in its transportation infrastructure, including the Alat International Trade Seaport, highways, and new railways. Today, Azerbaijan has become one of Eurasia's transportation and logistics hubs located along the Trans-Caspian Middle Corridor and the North-South Corridor. The Baku-Tbilisi-Kars Railway, a cornerstone of the Middle Corridor, is a testament to our commitment to improving regional connectivity. The Digital Silk Road project, an advanced fiber optic cable network under the Caspian Sea, which is underway, will contribute to the development of digital infrastructure and digital security. Another important initiative, which is also underway, is cooperation between Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan on green energy development and transmission. Staying true to the concept of South-South cooperation, Azerbaijan shares its experience in customs modernization, digitalization, and infrastructure development with other landlocked developing countries, enabling them to overcome geographic isolation and achieve collective progress. We also can upon the international community to provide stronger practical mechanisms to support landlocked developing countries to achieve SDGs. Thus, ladies and gentlemen, Azerbaijan's initiatives are a contribution to regional cooperation and coordination, better connectivity and trade for landlocked developing countries. Dear participants, and now I would like to greet my honorable colleagues who have joined me in this session and give the floor to them to share their views on the theme of our session. The first speaker is Ms. Itumeleng Rancho, Member of Parliament of Lesotho. You have the floor, Ms. Rancho, please.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker of the Majlis of Turkmenistan, Undersecretary General and High Representative of the LDCs, LLDCs, and SIDS, distinguished fellow parliamentarians, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is a distinct honor to address this esteemed forum on behalf of the Parliament and the people of the Kingdom of Lesotho. I extend our sincere gratitude to our host, the government of Turkmenistan, and the UN for convening this crucial gathering. For Lesotho, which is a nation that is doubly landlocked by its geography and mountainous terrain, the program of action of the LLDCs are not just policy documents, but they are lifelines. They represent the global partnerships for survival, resilience, and the shared pursuit to prosperity. Today, as we transition from the Vienna Programme of Action to the Awaza Programme of Action, it is a moment for an honest reflection and a bold ambition. The Vienna Programme of Action decade presented Lesotho and indeed all the LLDCs with a formidable challenge. Our unique status as a country, entirely enclaved within another nation, creates a profound dependency for trade and economic access, where any disruptions at our borders has an immediate and amplified impact. We, like many others, face significant infrastructural deficit, where there is a high cost of building and maintenance in the connectivity, depending on our difficult terrain that remains a primary obstacle. Furthermore, our resilience on a few key export sectors leave us very vulnerable to global market shocks. Compounding to all of this is the climate crisis. As a nation on the front lines, we have endured recurring droughts that devastate our agriculture, and threaten our precious water resource that is referred to as our white gold of the nation. And yet, despite these hurdles, with the spirit of the Vienna Programme of Action as our guide, we have registered tangible success. We have registered tangible successes. We have invested in critical and transformative agriculture, like the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, which generates revenue for our development. We have expanded our road network to connect remote communities and worked to modernize our border post to facilitate easy trade. We are also harnessing our natural endowment for renewable energy to achieve energy independence. These successes, though hard-won, prove that progress is possible. This experience taught us several crucial lessons that we must carry forward into the Awaza Programme of Action decade. Firstly, deepening the regional integration on it's non-negotiable. Our destiny is essentially linked to our neighbors and our regional economic communities. Secondly, the national ownership is the engine of implementation. Global goals remain abstract until they are woven into the fabric of our national strategic development plans and crucially funded by our national budgets. And thirdly, data is the compass of development. We cannot manage what we do not measure. We must have robust statistical systems to guide our policies. These lessons bring us to the present moment and the renewed vision offered by our Awaza Programme of Action. The Awaza Programme of Action offers new opportunities to advance our sustainable development. Its strong focus on digital transformation is a chance for us to leapfrog developmental stages, leveraging technology for e-commerce, digital finance, and improved public services. Its emphasis on climate resilience and green transition aligns with our national priorities, while its call for structural economic transformation gives stimulation to our efforts to diversify our economies. As parliamentarians, we must take the lead in seizing these opportunities. We are the bridge between these global ambitions and our people. We must be the champions of the Awaza Programme of Action, driving the proactive legislative agenda, crafting laws that unlock private investments in energy and renewable energy, that support the growth of small and medium enterprises, and that creates secure regulatory framework for a thriving digital economy. Of course, we must pursue these opportunities in an era of overlapping crises and constrained finances. This demands that our core parliamentary roles in legislation, oversight, budgeting should become sharper and more strategic. In legislation, we must shift from being reactive and to being proactive, with our committees initiating inquiries and proposing laws that accelerate the Awaza Programme of Action's implementation. Our oversight, which is our most powerful tool, must be relentless. We must use every mechanism available from committee hearings to citizen scorecards to scrutinize every dollar spent and demand results in that. The question shouldn't only be, what was the money spent on? It should be, whose lives were changed to be better? And through our power of the purse, we must scrutinize the budget proposals to ensure that resources are allocated to that. The Parliament of Lesotho is fully committed to the Awaza Programme of Actions. We plan to pledge to use our constitutional powers of legislation, oversight, and representation to turn this ambition into a reality for the people of Lesotho. Let us move forward from this forum with a renewed sense of purpose and a strengthened community to collaboration for a future where geography is no longer a barrier but a destiny. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Rancho, for your statements. Before giving the floor to other panelists, dear colleagues, I kindly ask you to take into consideration that every panelist just have about 5 minutes, not more. Thank you. And now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Haluk İpek, member of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey. And you have the floor, Mr. İpek. Haluk Bey, buyurun.
Çok değerli meclis başkanları, sayın parlamenterler, değerli katılımcılar, bu anlamlı konferans
Honorable Parliaments, distinguished participants, it's a great pleasure for me to come together with you in the town of Avazza, Turkmenistan, on the occasion of this meaningful meeting. I would like to extend my gratitude to Turkmenistan and the United Nations for organizing such a valuable conference on such a unique topic. The Turkmen people always make us feel at home with their warm and sincere hospitality, inspired by our common history. I would like to take this opportunity to express my deepest gratitude to the brotherly people of Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan has always been an exemplary and constructive pioneer in the international community, consistently supporting efforts to promote international stability. As in this initiative, we highly appreciate and support Turkmenistan's efforts. We are in an era where armed conflicts are on the rise, geopolitical tensions increase, and global trade is clouded by protectionism. The inhumane actions of Israel in Gaza and the devastating impacts of climate change in poor countries clearly indicate the necessity that the international community should act together. For this reason, we need effective multilateralism and cooperation-based international order more than ever. At this point, the role of parliaments and parliamentary diplomacy becomes more significant. Esteemed parliamentarians, as underlined in the Vienna Programme of Action, legislative bodies assume significant responsibilities not only in national development plans but also as cornerstones of international solidarity. Landlocked developing countries face additional costs in their development process due to their geographical disadvantages. Uninterrupted, secure, and sustainable connectivity must be ensured to overcome these obstacles. Turkey is playing its part in this area at the regional and global levels. Located between Europe, Asia, and Africa, Turkey, thanks to its geostrategic location, is at the center of transport corridors connecting the continents. In particular, the Middle Corridor and the planned Zengezur Corridor will contribute to secure provision of trade, logistics, and energy transportation between Central Asia and Europe. Distinguished participants, in this context, energy cooperation between Turkey and Turkmenistan is not only a strategic component in relations between the two brotherly countries, but also a regional in energy security. After this, our primary goal is to transport Turkmen gas to Europe via Turkey, via Trans-Caspian roads in higher volumes. This is an economic but also a geopolitical initiative. Energy is not a merely commercial commodity, but it's also a strategic area that serves peace, stability, and sustainable development among countries. Distinguished participants, groundbreaking technologies, particularly artificial intelligence, offer opportunities for higher productivity, economic diversification, and digital transformation for developing countries. However, we must also see that there might be some inequalities and need dependency relationships these technologies may bring. We must prevent developing countries from being pushed into technological blocks and promote inclusive, open, and equitable technology sharing. The UN Technology Bank for Least Developed Countries, hosted by Turkey in Kocaeli, Gebze, will continue to play a crucial role in this regard between 2024 and 2034. This bank is the first and only organization in the United Nations system dedicated to the least developed countries and represents the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals 17. Esteemed parliamentarians, unfortunately, climate change is a global threat that causes hundreds of billions of losses every year, and it's becoming more and more serious. Today's crises are so complex and intertwined that no single country can solve alone. As Turkey, we continue to play an active role in the global climate response. In this context, I would like to reiterate our candidacy to host UN Climate Change Conference COP31 in 2026. Turkey's vision in this process is to build a fair, transparent, inclusive, and sustainable bridge between developed and developing countries. We look forward for your support in this goal. In conclusion, landlocked developing countries can achieve their development goals through regional cooperation, strong parliamentary solidarity, digital transformation, and sustainable energy connections. In this content, Turkey Bakü-Ceyhan oil pipeline, Bakü-Tbilisi-Erzurum gas belt, natural gas pipeline agreement signed on March the 1st, 2025 for the transportation of Turkmen natural gas to Turkey and Europe. Any kind of effort is paid by Turkey with these actions because every Turkic Republic citizen and the Turkmen people themselves have two homelands, their homelands and Republic of Turkey. Turkey is our common homeland. With the principle of leaving no one behind, we can build our shared future together. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Teşekkür ederim Haluk Bey. Thank you very much, Mr. İpek. Ladies and gentlemen, the next panelist of our session is Mr. Victor Jemba, Chief of the United Africa Regional Bureau. The floor is yours, Mr. Jemba. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, Excellencies, distinguished parliamentarians, colleagues, it's a real pleasure to join you today to reflect on the journey from VPOA to Awasa Programme of Action. As UNIDO, our core mandate, that is to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development, align very well with the priorities of the LLDCs, particularly in terms of infrastructure, in terms of economic diversification, structural transformation, trade competitiveness, and also climate resilience. We all know that many LDCs face persistent challenges, notably in the area of limited productive capacity, underdeveloped value chain. We are talking more and more in terms of regional value chain, continental value chain, and also the integration in global value chain, and restricted access to technology and finances. However, we all know that partnership has made a difference, though the progress are a bit mitigated. We can mention many examples in some of the landlocked countries, notably in Burkina Faso, etc., where we have seen the development of some of the regional value chain. In terms of lessons learned, we can mention that connectivity should extend beyond borders, and in terms of transportation. We should also think about connecting not only countries to the port, to the seaport, but we need to connect industries to market. We need to connect entrepreneurs to financing, and we need also to connect SMEs, even macro, small, and medium enterprises to technologies. The Awasa Programme of Action indeed offer a chance to embed inclusive industrialization, digital transformation, not only in the services, but also into production. We are talking more in terms of smart manufacturing and also ensuring resilience at the heart of the LLDC strategies. I think parliamentarians can lead by legislating for green growth, industrial upgrading, integrating APOA into national development frameworks. Very important is key, and also to align the financial law to the national development plan, and also mobilizing budgetary allocation to support macro and small medium enterprises and infrastructure. And in terms of partnership per se, I could mention many examples in those areas I mentioned earlier. The multi-stakeholder partnership are critical to ensure the successful implementation of the Awaza program action. UNIDO and other development partners, notably we have here ITC, the International Trade Center, we have the other special agencies. We can provide technical assistance on industrialization and also climate policies. We know that development, financial institutions and other European Union, AFDB in Africa and other regions can provide financial tools. Civil society also and the private sector, they have a key role to ensure implementation and inclusivity. We should also highlight the peer learning among parliamentarians. That is also critical. I could mention, for example, the work in Rwanda, through notably the global environment financing, where the role of the parliamentary was very critical in ensuring the successful implementation of the e-waste recycling and program in the country. I will mention that Parliament are uniquely positioned to ensure cross-sectional alignment, particularly in the context of shortage of resources. It's also about alignment. Particularly, they can mandate budget allocation for industrial zones, logistic infrastructure. We have seen that notably in Ethiopia. We see it in working in the transboundary industrial parks, Zambia, Malawi, etc., where harmonizing regulatory frameworks are very key. The Parliament can also monitor delivery of development cooperation to ensure alignment with APOA objective. I think monitoring, evaluating, I think is key. Parliament can put in place a very multidisciplinary team to ensure that really what is planned is delivered, and not only deliver, is deliver efficiently, deliver timely. I mentioned to interministerial oversight. I will also highlight the fact that parliamentary can really incentive private investment and blended finance for infrastructure. In terms of industrialization, is business. PPP are very key. Include climate screening in national budget. I think the capacity, there's one initiative I could mention, to also institutionalize public expenditure reviews and development audit. An example in Zambia and Malawi to support climate agribusiness project aligned with the National Development Climate Plan, and also that benefited from Parliament scrutiny and support. All this led to successful implementation of the project. Could probably highlight one of the key, a powerful example on how Parliament can really lead on climate finance through Jeff project promoting parliamentary action for mainstreaming climate finance into national budget and climate strategies in developing countries. This initiative really empowered legislators to scrutinize climate finance, integrate climate action into fiscal frameworks, and ensure policy coherence, oversight, and budgetary transparency. Through the technical assistance, peer learning, this also contributes to ensure alignment. In closing, I think parliamentarians are not only enablers, we are also stewards of the Awaza Program of Action. UNIDO and other development partners, we are really committed to partner to remain committed to partner with the LLDCs in Africa and beyond, to ensure also with the government, the private sector, to ensure that industrialization is not only inclusive and sustainable, but is also resilient and people-centered. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Jemba. Ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to thank our panelists for their remarks, which involved both conceptual and practical approaches to the theme of the session from the perspective of the landlocked developing countries, transit countries, and development partners. And dear colleagues, now we'll go into extended discussion of our theme and also provide parliamentary perspective on it. And let me share the guiding questions prepared by the organizers for this session. So the questions are, the first question is, what were the major challenges and successes encountered in implementing the Vienna Programme of Action, and what lessons can be carried forward into the Avaza Programme of Action decade? The second question, in what ways does the Avaza Programme of Action offer new opportunities for advancing the sustainable development of landlocked developing countries, and how can parliamentarians take a lead in this process? The third question is, how can parliamentary roles in legislation, oversight, and budgeting be enhanced to support Avaza Programme of Action implementation in the face of limited resources and overlapping crises? The fourth question, what types of partnerships with the United Nations, development partners, or civil society are most effective in strengthening parliamentary engagement and capacity in landlocked developing countries? And the fifth question, how can parliaments contribute to scaling up investments in infrastructure, public services, and climate resilient development while ensuring transparency and accountability? And now, ladies and gentlemen, I invite our panelists to share their thoughts with us. And we start with Ms. Rancho. Ms. Rancho, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. From the Lesotho perspective, apologies. On the Vienna Programme of Action, talking about the successes and challenges and lessons learned, the major challenges that we experienced as a country is the geographic predicament, our unique status in the country that shows that we are entirely enclaved within South Africa, has shown that we had high dependencies on trade, transit, and economic access. Secondly, we have a very huge infrastructural deficit because there's a very high cost in building and maintaining infrastructure within the Mountain Kingdom. Thirdly, we have a very narrow economic base whereby our economy is relied only, not only, but not limited to textile, diamond mining, and water exports, that leaving us in a very vulnerable and in a very vulnerable global market. And then lastly would be, another challenge would be the climate change. We have recurring droughts that are very devastating to our agriculture and threaten our water resources. On the successes that we have achieved, we have invested in very critical infrastructure, such as the before mentioned Lesotho Highlands Water Project that serves water to our neighboring countries and generate a reasonable revenue for our country. We have also worked on trade in facilitations, whereby we have worked to modernize our border post so as to enhance and reduce transit times and costs. We also have harnessed our natural endowments of renewable energy, whereby we are using a lot, we are producing a lot of hydropower and are actively exploring on the wind energy and solar power so as we can achieve our energy independence and contribute to the green transition. The key lessons to carry forward: we are very much willing to deepen our regional integrations. For Lesotho, a strong collaborative and mutual respectful partnership with South Africa and also relationships with the SADC is very paramount. Secondly, the national ownership is the entire regime for implementation. That's lesson number 2, whereby we are very working towards implementing the Awaza Program of Action into the National Strategic Development Plan, and also domesticated, prioritized, and above all, funded through our national budgets. Thirdly, data would be our most compass into development, and that means Lesotho, in implementing the Awaza Program of Action, we do need urgently a robust national data and statistical system so as to track our progress, guide policy, and ensure that our interventions are effective. The new opportunities and the role of parliamentarians. The new opportunities for Lesotho: there was a program of action, strong focus is on digital transformation, and its opportunity is an opportunity for us to leapfrog these developmental stages. We can leverage the technology by the implementation of the e-commerce, digital financing, and also to improve our public service delivery so as to overcome these physical distances. And how parliamentarians must and can lead in this implementation. We as parliamentarians, we are the bridge between the global and ambition of our people. We must champion for this Awaza Program of Action by translating it into our global goals as a message of hope and opportunity for our constituents. We must drive a proactive legislative agenda so as to craft the laws that unlock investments and renewable energy. We must convene dialogues. We must convene national dialogues by bringing the government, private sector, and the civil society together. Enhancing the parliamentary roles in facing the limited resources. In an era of this, in the era whereby we are having a constrained finances as landlocked countries, what's required is for push our core functions so as we become more strategic as lawmakers and shift from being very reactive to being proactive. And also we need to strengthen our oversight roles and strengthen our budgeting so as to ensure that our national budget is an ultimate document policy. So as a parliament, we hold the power of the purse, and we must ensure that we are vigilant in doing so as to fight the corruption that we see in some of our countries. Finally, in forging the effective partnerships for capacity building, partnerships with the UN system are very vital as they help in technical assistance and legislative drafting, budget analysis, and understanding the complexities. Also, engaging the civil society and academia provides us with invaluable and independent expertise. Collaborations with development partners like World Bank and the African Development Bank can provide the data, analysis, and financial support needed for the targeted parliamentary strengthening projects. Finally, last but not least, the Parliament's role in scaling up the investment with accountability. Attracting the investment needed for agriculture and public service, climate action is required as a foundation of trust and stability. We must create a predictable and robust legal framework that protects the investments, respects the rule of law, and reduce the political risk. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madame Bradshaw, for your thoughts which you shared with us. And ladies and gentlemen, now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Ipek. Mr. Ipek, you have the floor, please.
Well, thank you very much. This is quite a beneficial and fruitful conference. And of course, we have our religion that we have faith in, and our prophet Muhammad says that 9 out of 10 of our revenue lies in commerce. I mean, all the resources and all the commodities that we manufacture are to be shared among human beings. And there is a condition of this. The world is actually must be livable for all human beings. If, as the countries, if you make worlds a bad place for people, there will be no commerce, there will be no sharing of resources, and that the resources of the world will not be useful to people then, and there will be no development in the commerce. So when we look back to the history, we saw some colonial periods where the resources of other countries were absorbed, actually abused, especially in Africa and in many other countries. We saw wars, colonialism, and conflicts, which prevented people from benefiting from their own resources. And nowadays, we also see problematic situations during the invasion in Iraq. The person, the state headman, said that you will be side by side with me or against me. He said so. And this is this was damaging for the commitments of the United Nations for making the world a livable place. So that was just to the contrary. Since then, we see that there have been many negative effects of those times into the development of the LLDCs. And today, the United Nations and all of the international organizations must be stronger. As the parliamentarians, we must put all our efforts into this. And the presidents of the governments, presidents of the countries, and the state people must put all their efforts into this, because there have been many sufferings until now. So after many events, sufferings, the international organizations have been established in order to make the world a better place for all the human beings to support each other. And of course, the parliamentarians are very important. The MPs, the parliaments are very important in preparing the budgets, making international contracts, and implementing these. The parliamentarians will have been and will always be pioneers. Therefore, all the negotiations here will be carried out to the countries of that you represent here. Therefore, I would like to thank you very much. I believe that this will be a very good and powerful session.
And now, Mr. Jamba, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. I think in my first intervention, I highlighted some of the aspects related to those questions. Thank you for giving me the opportunity probably to dwell a bit more. In terms of the challenge, it's true that I mentioned the limited productive capacity is true. Our colleague from Lesotho also mentioned the data, the availability, because you cannot manage what you cannot measure. Is one of the big challenge in the developing countries, and particularly also in the landlocked. Having those challenges, the geographical situation could be also an opportunity to not landlocked to be land linked. We know that the competition is not, economic competition is not within countries, it's within value chain. And particularly now we are talking more in the context of Africa notably, where we have the African continent free trade, we have to move towards a regional value chain. We see a great opportunity for the LLDC to really land link. A land link is an opportunity, and where the key element that is important here, because when we develop value chain within countries, we have a harmonized regulatory framework, etc. But when we move towards land link, I think is more challenging. The greatest challenge is in that soft. And I think the parliamentary can play a very key role to accelerate that aspect. We see in the special economic zone, in the landlocked, the enacting laws, etc., to facilitate, to mobilize investment. How much more where the risk is high, but the yield is greater when we develop those regional value chain. Is an aspect that is very much important. There's another element that is highlighted. It was highlighted in the VPA and also in the APA, is the means of implementation. You know that talking industrialization, you have to do upstream studies, prepare bankable projects, etc. They have to be of huge, big quality to mobilize, to be able to mobilize financing for multi development banks, etc. I think there's a huge need there to really develop those capacities. The development partners are there to support, particularly the technical. We are working together with the financial to accelerate that aspect. I will highlight another aspect for me based on our experience that is key. Now, we generally say that where is your money is your heart, or where is your heart you put your money. When you have a development plan, you have designed, it has been approved in the national, in the parliament, and you move for his implementation, you have to see resources, particularly the initial resources outside. You can miss window of opportunity. That's why I think parliamentarians have a key role to ensure that alignment between the planning, the programming, and the financing, so that we should not lose window opportunities. We should really implement in a timely manner. Before the private sector come in, before the financial institution come in, I think the national resources are key to ensure that we move forward and quickly. Yes, we are in the context of scarcity of resources. I think one of the areas we can really make a huge progress is to ensure efficiency. One of the weaknesses of development countries is particularly the collective efficiency within the government, the silo work. How can we break it? I think is also an area we can really make some efficiency. And the parliamentary has a key role, convening and putting in place an interministerial committee to oversee the work that is being done is a source of efficiency. Bringing industrialization, it's true that we have a Minister of Trade Industrialization, but they are custodian or something, but there is a large spectrum of actors that are involved, from the Minister of from the agriculture, to, from finance, from planning, for employment, for energy, for environment. All this has to play a music. And the third, I will close with this. Partnership is key, particularly when it comes to industrialization, because as a key element to ensure structural transformation, I think the greatest challenge in our countries, in development countries, in the landlocked, structural transformation, to be able to reduce poverty and also inequalities. I think all the key actors have to play together. Is a music to design, and then each one plays whole. Bringing private sector, civil society, government partners, and the different ministerial department together to design, so that when we go to implementation, each one plays his music, and then we can monitor to go to the next circle. The parliament is well placed to ensure that all this is being done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, actually, we don't have enough time, but I will ask you, and if somebody has some questions or comments, just please take into consideration that the allotted time for our panel has concluded, but maybe some comments. If there is not comments, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I would like to thank our esteemed panelists for their valuable views. And our fruitful deliberations show... Please. Could you please introduce yourself, your country, and yourself, please? Introduce yourself.
Oui, Taïrou Gimba du Parlement du Niger. Taïrou Gimba, Parlement du Niger.
Okay, yeah.
Je peux?
Yeah, you have the floor.
Okay. Hein? La question que j'ai, en fait, ce n'est même pas une question, mais c'est une contribution. C'est une contribution. Jusque-là, les Nations Unies ne font que traiter ces sujets à sens unique. Et il fallait utiliser les deux sens. Nous avons vécu un embargo total. Attendez. Et nous pensons que ce forum d'Awaza doit intégrer l'autre aspect. Nous sommes des pays continentaux, c'est vrai. Et nous avons les pays de transit tout le long du golfe de Guinée. Et en violation de toutes les lois que vous connaissez, de tous les traités que vous connaissez, ils nous ont imposé, nous les pays de l'AES, Niger, Mali, Burkina, un embargo inédit. Et à cause des événements que vous connaissez, le terrorisme qui a envahi notre zone, et on nous refuse le droit de nous défendre. Et quand on n'a plus la responsabilité de nous défendre, il y a un blocus total, inédit. Même les produits pharmaceutiques sont interdits de passer par ces ports. Nous pensons que c'est quand même grave. Et les Nations Unies continuent à nous parler des pays sans littoral, des pays enclavés. Non. Pour leurs affaires, leur business, leurs opérations aériennes, ils sont obligés de survoler nos territoires. Tous ces pays du littoral sont obligés de survoler le Niger, le Mali ou le Burkina pour atteindre l'Europe ou l'Asie ou autre. L'appel que nous lançons ici, c'est que les Nations Unies, notamment le bureau en charge de ce problème de développement des pays sans littoral, prennent en compte pour que les autres du littoral, nos parents du littoral, nos voisins, du sérieux et du respect par rapport aux autres qui sont enclavés. Vous nous survolez chaque jour nos territoires par avion. Ils ne peuvent pas venir, s'ils disent, quand vous prenez un Béninois, un Nigérian, un Togolais, un Ivoirien, un Ghanéen, ainsi de suite, ils sont obligés de survoler le Niger, le Mali ou le Burkina pour venir en Europe par avion. Mais la problématique, il faut la prendre dans les deux sens. Qu'ils sachent que nous aussi, ce n'est pas un handicap pour nous, le fait de ne pas avoir un littoral. Non, on sait que c'est difficile. Mais il faut que les Nations Unies, que ce bureau prenne en compte cet aspect-là pour leur faire comprendre que nous sommes interindépendants.
Respect should be bilateral. You know, and the other agreements, they should take into consideration this aspect. So they don't take into consideration our statements. They should take into consideration our statements. They should acknowledge, recognize our statements. If they don't take into consideration our statements, there won't be any democracy. I would like to call all participants who gathered here to acknowledge our statements, to recognize our statements, to take into consideration our statements. In the countries, in LLDCs, we need some solution of some problems, for example, access to the world market. So I would like to ask you to take into consideration all these problems, all these aspects. So our neighbors, they don't take into consideration our problems, our challenges, transit countries or other countries, landlocked countries, they don't take into consideration our problems. They blocked our borders. And some countries help them to do this. So Port Cotonou, it doesn't function. So transit of Nigeria was realized through this port. We should take into consideration in two aspects. So Nigeria and other countries, they have access to the sea, to the ocean. But we should find the balance between us and these countries. Thank you for your attention. It was a comment. It's not a question, it's comment. But we understand that we should take into consideration all these aspects, and we do hope that this conference will take into consideration your request, your recommendation. We think that this question shouldn't be solved unilaterally. It should be solved bilaterally.
My honorable colleague, and ladies and gentlemen, we don't have any comments, and that's why I'd like just to mention that our fruitful deliberations show that such platform, I mean, these kinds of platform are significant in terms of exchanging experiences and new ideas. And I call for actions that will be adopted at the closing session and reflect our views will provide significant support to achieving our common goals and contribute to implementation of the Avaza Program for Action. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby declare the session closed and thank you for being with us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
On peut démarrer. Oui. Bonsoir, chers collègues invités. S'il vous plaît, la salle, on peut commencer? Merci, merci, merci, chers panélistes, merci, chers organisateurs, merci au pays d'accueil, merci aux Nations Unies. Il est bien vrai que nous étions choisis pour animer cet thème qui est pour la construction et le renforcement des systèmes commerciaux multilatéraux au profit des pays sans littoral. Donc, sur ce, nous avons un programme, si vous nous permettez, avec le panel qui est ici à côté de moi, qui n'est rien d'autre que le personnel de haute gamme que vous êtes tous ici. Voilà, notre programme de ce matin, je crois, ça déroule en quelques phases. La première phase, c'est permettre à nos collègues qui sont ici de se présenter. Et après, on va essayer de descendre à quelques 3 à 4 questions que nous avons à débattre ici à l'instance. Après cela, nous allons avoir quelques conclusions à faire. Et étant donné que le temps est très limité, on va demander à chacun de très bien respecter le timing qu'ils nous ont accordé. Sans plus tarder, je vais laisser les collègues ici à côté, le panel qui est constitué de monsieur.
Limit. Let's keep time limit. So next speaker is Mr. Marti Uzur. He's from Palema. Katazu, Mr. Katazu, Kataba. Mr. Mohammed Tayat. He's from Marrakesh. From Mr. Esfian Gamez. From GDPC. So please keep time limit. And next floor is given to our first speaker. Your Excellencies, I am from International ITC, from the organization ITC. We are the agency of UNO, and we are engaging we are assisting to the development of small business companies. I would like to thank our moderator, and next floor is given to the from the Ethiopia.
Fellow honorable parliamentarians, colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I thank Turkmenistan for hosting us and the United Nations for organizing this important forum. My intervention focuses on shaping and strengthening a multilateral trading system that delivers for all countries, with a specific focus on the vital role of parliamentarian engagement. As a parliamentarian from Ethiopia, I speak from a perspective of a country that lacks direct territorial access to the sea, despite being only 60 kilometers from the Red Sea. As a nation that was coastal for our entire existence, except the past 30 years, we are acutely aware of the significant economic, security, and political costs of lacking direct territorial access to the sea. Implementation of the right of all states to access and utilize maritime resources requires strong, innovative, and inclusive legislative actions. As parliamentarians, we are the architects of legislation, the custodians of accountability, and the direct voice of our constituencies. We have a role in making sure international frameworks, particularly in trade, lead to tangible benefits for our countries. The absence of direct access to the sea and the remoteness from major markets imposes prohibitive transit transport costs on countries. These costs erode our competitiveness, inflate prices, and constrain our participation in the global value chain. Ethiopia targets to achieve revenue from merchandise exporters from USD 3 billion to 18.3 billion USD and expand the number of foreign destinations from 37 to 96 by 2030. Achieving this lofty objective is contingent on having guaranteed and secure territorial access to the sea. To this end, the House of People Representatives of Ethiopia, that is the Parliament of Ethiopia, takes targeted legislative and oversight functions, among which I will raise 3 interrelated pointers. First, parliamentarians play a crucial role in making sure the executive branch negotiates favorable agreements that ensure secure, guaranteed, robust, predictable maritime access. These arrangements must prioritize efficiency, reduce bureaucratic hurdles, and include provisions for infrastructure development. Second, increased investment on connectivity infrastructure is very critical. Both hard infrastructure like roads and railways, and also infrastructure on soft infrastructures such as customs, efficiency, and digital logistics that are very critical and extremely needed. Parliamentarians can play a role in providing strategic guidance and allocating sufficient resources for cross-border infrastructure and support public-private partnership. Third, through our oversight role, parliamentarians can support enhanced trade that align with national development strategies. This was evident in Ethiopia, where House of People Representatives, the Parliament, continues to push for accelerated implementation of the African continent free trade area. One of the biggest trade agreements since the creation of the World Trade Organization. The parliamentarians also oversees Ethiopia's World Trade Organization accession process that has entered the 5th round negotiation process. And we are ready for the 6th round, and the successful preparations are being prepared for the 6th round negotiation. In relation, the work of the Trade Oversight Committee, periodic reporting from trade negotiators and the stakeholders' consultations are critical. Parliamentarians are indispensable engines of change, champions of transparency, and the guardians of accountability. We must proactively shape our legislation, rigorously oversee policy implementation, and strategically allocate resources. Thank you for listening.
Merci. Merci une fois de plus pour cette langue. Un très bon message. On va passer la parole à notre collègue Mohamed. Vous pouvez être beaucoup plus précis parce que lui, il a pris plus de temps. Voilà, il faut être plus court parce qu'on n'a pas assez de temps.
Dear Ms. Gulmanova, dear members of the parliament, it's a great honor for me to address you today at this important session dedicated to our shared journey. And it's for me, it's a great honor to be the member of Marrakesh. I would like to greet our partners who allowed us to organize this strategic forum, this crucial forum. I would like to be honest with you. Multilateral trading system cannot be an only mechanism of exchange. It should be a driving force. It should be a driving force of justice and fairness. And it also plays a special geographical role. It means that voice of the LLDCs should be heard. It should be heard better, and it should be simplified. Our relations should be simplified. We should take into consideration the problems connected with the tax system. And as parliamentarians, our role is very crucial. It's not only the problems of legislation. We should solve some other problems. We should ensure correct use of the social resources, of the public resources. We are also responsible for the cooperation between our nations, between our countries. It's the crucial role. It's the important role of our parliaments. It's closely connected with the development of infrastructures. It's also closely connected with the trading system across our borders. And we have these functions. We should effectively use the program of action of Avaza program of action. So King of the Morocco, he initiated the new program. He launched the new project. It's an Atlantic project. It's access to the Atlantic Ocean, to open access to the Atlantic Ocean through Mali, through Burkina Faso, through Nigeria, and through Chad. This initiative is not limited. It's not limited to logistical questions, to the logistical issues. It's also connected with the economic exchange. Port of Morocco, it's also important for development of energy, agriculture. This initiative is also very important. Dear colleagues, this initiative is necessary for the development of it's a very important condition for the correct participation in the trading system, in the multilateral trading system. It's transformation. It's direct structural influence on the whole region. It's also important for investments. It's also important for the development of Morocco. And 2 minutes, dear moderator, I would like to ask 2 minutes. 2 minutes. At initiative of the access to the Atlantic Ocean of Morocco, it's our initiative. It will contribute to the multilateral trading system. Therefore, we gathered here. So we should act. We shouldn't just say about it. We should act. So I would like to wish you fruitful work. So we should pay attention to the actions. So we listened to all speakers. I am from Chad. So I am the chairperson of the Commission in Financing. In Chad, there is also no access to sea, to the ocean. And it's a great honor for me. It was a great honor for me to work in the UNO. So we consider different questions, different issues. The first question is a multilateral trading system, which is in the LLDCs, economic aspects, and of world trade, world commerce, importance and turbulency, and the issues which are connected with the legislation system in the landlocked developing countries, and the role of the world trading system. And the second question is how can parliamentarians assist to these countries, to the landlocked developing countries, in developing their trading systems? And the third question is how can countries can contribute to the solution of these problems? We can exchange our opinions. Thank you very much. And I would like to give the floor to my colleague for the comments. So my colleague from my right, he wants to give some comments.
Internet access. For example, recently we launched a Women Exporters in Digital Economy Fund that is favoring Mongolia and helps women to access internet through grants and support. We also propose that parliamentarians work on e-commerce and consumer protection, guaranteeing electronic contracts, electronic signatures, and data flows. We have built an African Trade Observatory with the African Union to allow this, and we're working in the African Continental Free Trade Area. Also, digital payments are very important. We have allowed, we're working with Alibaba in Africa and eBay in Central Asia to allow companies to trade, and we have given them capabilities to trade. Also, we believe that digital skills and the promotion of intellectual property rights are very important. We have to defend the intellectual property of our SMEs. We don't necessarily always have to take things from other countries. We have worked, for example, the Startup Act in Cote d'Ivoire, and in Uganda this year, we did an incubation for digital skills in Uganda this year. So we're working very closely also on trade facilitation and customs. In Central Asia, we have an electronic queue management system that we allow the transfer of merchandise quickly. It's been implemented in Kyrgyzstan, and we are really supporting the WTO Joint Statement Initiative with regional organization, working with the African Continental Free Trade Area, with the African Union, with ASEAN, with CARICOM, and other countries. We do this as the One UN principle, like my colleague from Unido explained before. We're working very closely with many donors, including the United Nations, the United Nations, European Union, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, China, and Switzerland. What we do is, rather than to give people fish, is training people how to fish. So at your service, and we are there to support any parliamentarian that would like to talk to us and see how we can help them better.
Merci, mon cher Oliviera. On va laisser à qui veut prendre la parole de nous poser, si vous avez très bien compris nos 4 points, notre 4 questions, qui sont beaucoup plus transversales et vastes, qui prend en compte tous les paramètres.
We would like to give the floor to some other speaker. If you have some questions, if you have some comments, you can raise your hands and give your questions, ask your questions, but we have limited time. Dear colleagues, it's a great honor for me to address you in this very important session. So problems and lessons learned and further steps. It's not only the results, summing up the results. It's an opportunity to acknowledge, to recognize our challenges, our difficulties, and exchanging our experiences. And in 2014, it was adopted Vienna Programme of Actions. The LLDCs got a very important direction. Tajikistan began to develop its transport infrastructure, to activate its transit corridors, and it's simplified its trading system, trading procedures. Dear participants of this session, the Republic of Tajikistan pays a special attention to the access to the world market. So development of infrastructure, digital transformation, and strengthening of regional cooperation. So under the leadership of the leader of the nation, Mr. President of Tajikistan, our country pays attention to the solution of the issues which the LLDCs face. And our country launched the project which is closely connected with the solution of the tasks, which is connected with the deficiency of water resources. So by the initiative of Tajikistan, UNO also works on the realization of different tasks. So it is especially closely connected with the agriculture and industry. Besides, Tajikistan actively participates in the formulation of new transport corridors and energy corridors. For example, different project of Central Asian initiative by the connection of the Central Asian ports. It will expand the potential of our country and the countries which are landlocked countries. Dear parliamentarians, we are driving forces of changes. We create legislation systems. So these are questions of logistics, transport transits, transport corridors. It's very necessary to contribute to the realization of some questions, of some issues, and we should implement the Avaza Programme of Action, and we should distribute our resources justly, and we should pay attention to the issues connected with the youth and women. And these are, we cooperate with UNO and some other international organizations, with the World Bank and with the public organizations, and cooperation should coordinate different issues. So we should exchange experiences. Especially, we should exchange our experiences in the issues relating LLDCs. So we should establish dialogue, maintain different relations. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Now we would like to give the floor to our colleague from Uganda. Парламент Уганды верит в то, что Конституция является движущей силой трансформации. Также это вопросы инфраструктуры, вопросы, связанные с правительственными задачами. Мы привержены к решению различных задач. В этом периоде наш президент осуществляет различные действия для того, чтобы улучшить наше законодательство. И мы имеем некоторые рекомендации. Также рекомендации по программе действий, принятой в АВАЗе. То есть организация обеспечения возможностей для развивающихся стран, не имеющих выхода к морю, высокие транзитные издержки, 40% бюджета Уганды предусматривает торговые издержки. Это также транспорт автомобильных дорог, транспортные вопросы, связанные с автомобильными дорогами, также различные вопросы, связанные с барьерами, Европейский Союз, также стандарты и также вопросы издержки. Также 15 миллионов американских долларов было вычислено для решения различных вопросов. Парламент Уганды, что мы стараемся сделать? Мы стараемся решить все эти сложные задачи, особенно вопросы торговли в нашем регионе, на нашей территории. Мы также решаем вопросы финансирования, также пограничные вопросы, транспортные коридоры, также вопросы, связанные с железнодорожным транспортом. Также стараемся решить вопросы экспорта. Поэтому, уважаемые коллеги, спасибо за внимание, спасибо огромное. Спасибо за внимание. Также мы даем слово делегации из России. Уважаемые господа, уважаемые превосходительства, это мое первое участие на таком огромном мероприятии, на таких очень важных дискуссиях. И мне бы хотелось поделиться своими впечатлениями, особенно здесь произошли здесь были освещены разные очень ясные вопросы, но я бы хотел также учесть некоторые вопросы, с которыми сталкиваются развивающиеся страны, не имеющие выхода к морю. Это также влияет на устойчивое развитие. И я верю, что ООН тоже решает эти вопросы. Это очень специфический вопрос. И я также пришел к заключению, что парламенты играют важную роль в решении этих задач. Наш форум тоже очень определенно важный в этом плане. Мы также хотели бы упомянуть здесь роль Межпарламентарного союза. Мы также имеем наших представителей в Межпарламентском союзе. Мы должны посвятить нашу ассамблею, которая произойдет в Женеве в октябре, посвятить вопросам решения и дискуссии, как все парламенты могут участвовать в выполнении этих задач, которые и также выполнение действий, которые были приняты здесь в АВАЗе. И как госпожа Гулманова упомянула, мы должны учитывать реализацию программ действий, принятую здесь в АВАЗе. Я хотел бы также упомянуть о моей стране, о России. Россия также внесла вклад, Россия также внесла вклад в организацию этих мероприятий. Мы поддерживаем решение этих задач, особенно задачи, с которыми сталкиваются развивающиеся страны, не имеющие выхода к морю. И мы участвуем в реализации этих задач. Мы выделили несколько миллионов долларов в решении этих вопросов. Также это имеет огромное значение для развивающихся стран. Это является нашим содействием в развитии этих стран. И более чем 1 миллиард долларов было выделено для решения этих проблем. Наша страна омывается океанами и морями, но что касается других стран, особенно неразвивающихся стран, не имеющих выхода к морю, у них есть какие-то логистические вопросы, и мы имеем несколько двусторонних соглашений с этими странами. Например, мы также имеем некоторые соглашения с Казахстаном. Мы рады приветствовать наших коллег из Казахстана. Итак, Россия, в вашем распоряжении, мы готовы помочь вам, мы готовы внести наш вклад в развитие стран, неразвивающихся стран мира. Завтра мы тоже будем участвовать в нескольких мероприятиях, и наши высокопоставленные лица тоже будут участвовать на этих мероприятиях. Спасибо огромное. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We will take into consideration your contribution to the solution of these problems, of these issues. I would like to give the floor to my colleague. 3 minutes, please. So pay attention to the time limit. Thank you very much. Спасибо огромное, господин председатель.
By landlocked developing countries such as Ethiopia and others. So I just want to say a few pointers. While the multilateral trade system embedded by World Trade Organization offers a framework for rule-based trade, it is not yet sufficiently supportive of landlocked development countries, because despite our aspirations, landlocked countries, still we face very high logistic costs, unreliable transit costs, as some of my colleagues from Uganda and others have already raised. So these unreliable trade corridors and the limited participation in global value chains is a very problem. Another issue is the complexity of World Trade Organization agreements and the slow pace of negotiations, and further this challenges our ability to meaningfully engage and advocate for our specific needs. So parliamentarians, we have to play a very crucial role, and our trade negotiators must make robust, informed by national priorities, agendas, and the legislative rules. With regard to development of infrastructures, especially digital technologies, Ethiopia has dramatically reduced business registration procedures from 11 to only just 3, slashing the time required from 32 to 5 only. Also, our legislations these days have the parliament directly imposed, ratified a strong fuel trade proclamation, and the directives like cement trade directives were revised fully to liberalize the market. So some of the initiatives are undergoing in our parliament. So we finally, I would like to say, we must mainstream the Hausa Programme of Action into our national plans. This is our priority. The Hausa Programme of Action sets our roadmap. This is very important to solve all the problems that I have already mentioned. So the Hausa Programme of Action sets our roadmap, but it needs deep parliamentarian ownership. Parliamentarians must embed Hausa Programme of Action priorities into national development plans and budget, and ensure regular monitoring and reporting on trade-related commitments. So through Hausa Programme of Action, if we make it our daily plan of action in our parliament, and if we play our 4 roles, the oversight role, the representation role, and the ratification of the rules and regulations of issues related with trade, we will solve the structural problems that landlocked countries are facing. Thank you again.
Merci, merci, merci. On va passer la parole à notre...
Мы также предоставляем слово нашему выступающему из Марокко.
Enclaver les pays sans littoral n'est pas un simple acte économique ou un acte logistique, c'est un acte profondément humain.
We should implement the Avaza program of actions. We should realize, and our first step is our initiative of Morocco, open the access to the sea, to the ocean. It's the first step. We should make concrete steps. We should encourage our governments to realize these issues. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Olivier. Также мы верим, что мы достигнем хороших результатов, особенно в мультинациональном плане. Может быть, например, мы будем учитывать ваши инициативы, ваши рекомендации. Я также хотел бы отметить, что наша страна тоже будет прилагать усилия для поддержки реализации программы действий. И мне бы хотелось заключить свое выступление вопросом Центральной Африки. Если вы хотите действовать и более далее развивать свои страны, вы должны сотрудничать с нашими странами. Спасибо огромное.
Gracias, Webale.
Merci, merci Olivera. Je crois qu'on va essayer d'avancer sur notre programme. Je crois que nous avons fait le 4e point sans plus tarder. Ou bien il y a quelque chose à dire ici dans la salle?
Are there any participants who want to give a comment or to say something, to tell something? So we will work in accordance with our program. And we have some resume. So brief, if there are any comments, so we can conclude our session. We can conclude our session. We can sum up our session. So statements of our participants, Uganda, Russia. There were also some participants from Ethiopia, Mr. Mohammed. So what did I understand? Our colleagues mentioned importance of inclusiveness. So it's very important to take into account challenges of the LLDCs, their problems, they don't have or they have limited access to the world markets, but they should launch projects and they should partner with and they should cooperate with other countries. So we should take into consideration some mobilization issues. Some LLDCs have many challenges, especially they don't have access to the sea, to the ocean. So these are aspects which were mentioned by our colleagues. So would you like to add some things? Dear colleagues, would you like to add something to my concluding speech? So would you like to add something? Maybe Russia? So you don't agree with me, Russia? Or do you agree with me? Yes, okay. So it's wonderful. So colleague from Morocco. So we have some other issues, some other question. So in conclusion, Nigeria want to add something. Our guest from Nigeria. Mr. Chairperson, I would like to thank you. So, we are very glad that this Avaza program of action was adopted, but you should give us opportunity to call for actions, for concrete actions. For example, as it was mentioned by the guest from Morocco. So we should work together. We should make common efforts. So I agree with our colleague from Morocco. We should cooperate with each other to build some bridges of partnerships. So we should work bilaterally, not unilaterally, but bilaterally. So we should work with the countries which are land-linked countries or countries which have access to the sea and to the oceans. So we should work with our neighboring countries which have access to the sea, to the oceans. They should also contribute to the realization of the tasks with which we are facing. So in the first thematic session, I mentioned some aspects, some tasks. So I mentioned that it is very necessary to pay attention to the balance, because trading system can develop only through balance. So LLDCs should solve their problems, should solve their issues, and world community should take into consideration this aspect. We should live in peace. So countries which have access to the sea, to the ocean, they should assist in the solution of our problems, of our challenges. We need in cooperation. We should build cooperation. We should establish cooperation with the countries which have access to the sea, to the ocean. But some countries which have access to the ocean and to the sea, they don't pay attention to our problems. So thank you very much. I hope that you should take into consideration my proposals. Thank you very much. I would like to express my gratitude to all participants. So I would like to express my gratitude to Turkmenistan. It's a country which opens its doors, and we do hope that we have solution to our problems. We have solutions to our challenges. We will work together. We will make common efforts in the solution of our issues. We believe in this. So we finish our discussions. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
was waiting you for long. I just drink with my mouth.
C'est tellement facile, hein?
Money, because we can transfer this.
Уважаемые коллеги, пожалуйста, займите свои места. Мы продолжаем работу нашего форума. Уважаемые участники форума, дорогие коллеги, дамы и господа, в начале своего выступления разрешите, пожалуйста, поздравить вас с началом работы парламентского форума, проводимого в рамках Третьей конференции Организации Объединенных Наций по развивающимся странам.
Third United Nations Conference on the Landlocked Developing Countries. Taking this opportunity, I would like to ask you to actively participate in the third session, Building Peace, trust and accountable governance enables of sustainable development in LLDCs. Dear participants of the conference, our hero Arkadar mentions ideas of peace and trust are closely connected with the economic development, and therefore this year, International Year of Peace and Trust, should give a powerful impulse to the economic cooperation. So in these terms, the President of Turkmenistan, Serdar Berdimuhamedov, mentioned that the third United Nations Conference on the Landlocked Developing Countries held in Avaza will be an important event, which will be the important event of the International Year of Peace and Trust. As it was mentioned in this conference, in the LLDCs, so special attention is paid to the all infrastructures, especially to the opportunities of the parliaments. Dear participants of the conference, as it is known, so we should pay to the legislation questions, to the legislation issues, to the concrete issues. So we should pay attention to the solution of different tasks. In this regard, our today's conference will give an opportunity, will provide an opportunity for the discussion of different questions, of different issues. Especially, we will pay attention to the crucial role of the parliaments. Dear colleagues, so let me allow the speakers. So let's go on the work of this conference, of this forum, and with deep respect, I would like to give the floor to the Mr. Bahadur, Mr. Shekri. Yo berde berde.
Kariman Roziev, Deputy Chairperson of the Majlis of Turkmenistan, honorable parliamentarians, respected leaders, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, namaste. I would like to take this opportunity to convey my special thanks to the organizers for convening this important event in this beautiful city. I am fully convinced that the theme of this program is relevant and timely. I believe that all of us will be benefited from shared knowledge, wisdom, and experience sharing. As we all know, the year 2030 is not far from us. The progress in achieving Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, is challenging, especially in landlocked and developing countries, LLDCs. We need more data, voices, and equity in resource allocations. Ladies and gentlemen, the available evidences suggest that LLDCs have been facing a number of unique challenges in their development efforts. High transportation costs, inadequate infrastructure, and limited access to the global market are hindering economic and social development. Despite their lower level of contribution to global climate change, LLDCs are struggling to cope with the disproportionate impacts of climate change, emergencies, and disasters. I want to remind the commitments to the Vienna Programme of Action that aims to address the special development needs and challenges of LLDCs. We should translate our commitments into actions. Against this backdrop, I am fully convinced that the Awaja Programme of Action should be a catalyst in addressing the challenges faced by LLDCs and to help achieve SDGs within the stipulated time frame. Ladies and gentlemen, as parliamentarians, we have an important role to effectively implement Awaja Programme of Action, APOA. We are the voice of the people, and our talks should be evidence-based. We need to support the steps taken by our governments to implement it and raise the voices when required. Let's develop a mechanism to monitor, evaluate, and review the progress made on the APOA and encourage the governments to take concrete actions. Similarly, our parliaments have a great role in building peace, trust, and accountable governments. We are the bridge between the people, government, civil society, and private sector. We have the sovereign right to make legislation and through budget allocate required funds to implement APOA. In fact, peace in the country, trust upon the government, and accountable institutions are crucial to achieve overall development of the countries, including SDGs. In Nepal, after the implementation of new constitution in 2015, we have entered the era of political stability and socio-economic transformation. We are making our best effort to achieve SDGs on time. Nepal is mobilizing whole of the government and whole of societies to achieve SDGs. While we are on track to realize some of them, gaps and challenges are still persistent. For this, we need enhanced level of cooperation and support from our development partners. Similarly, effective implementation of APOA will also help achieving SDGs, particularly in LLDCs. Dear members of parliaments, to strengthen the role of LLDC parliaments, our voices should be evidence-based. We need to perform well to fulfill our mandates and to gain legitimacy. For an inclusive, accountable, and transparent governance, the LLDC parliaments should ensure social cohesion, participative decision-making, equitable distributions of resources and rule of law through policy as well as legal intervention to strengthen peace, trust and cooperation among LLDCs and their neighbors. We should use the regional and global platforms like Inter-Parliamentary Union and high-level political forums. Last but not least, I would like to assure that Nepal is committed to working with you all to advancing the Awaz Program of Action. I believe evidence-based voices, our strong commitment and coherent actions will be instrumental for this. Together we can contributing in creating a fairer world for ourselves and future generation. I thank you and namaste. Thank you.
Dear Salabahaddin, would like to express our deep gratitude for your meaningful speech, and we wish you every success in your activities. And dear colleagues, we continue our work. Systematic session. Next floor is given to our colleague, member of the National Assembly of Armenia, Mr. Babkin Tunyan. Thank you.
Fellow parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to address you today on behalf of the National Assembly of the Republic of Armenia, as we come together to discuss the critical issues that will shape the future of landlocked countries, landlocked developing countries. This discussion is taking place at a crucial time, as the importance of good governance and accountability and the essential role of parliamentarians in creating an effective action plan for building peace and advancing sustainable development cannot be overestimated. Armenia is deeply familiar with the unique structural challenges that all LLDCs face. It is limited access to international markets, dependency on transit countries, and higher transportation costs. However, for Armenia, as with many other landlocked countries, our geographic challenges have not defined us. Instead, we are defined by our ability to turn these challenges into opportunities. And at the heart of the transformation is the power of good governance paired with the active involvement of our parliamentarians. Despite the existing regional and global challenges, Armenia has shown that transformation is possible through resilience, commitment to reform, and regional cooperation. We have learned that overcoming these geographical challenges begins by strengthening our institutions, improving accountability, and actively fostering cooperation with our neighbors. These are the foundations upon which we are building a more resilient and thriving Armenia. Armenia has undergone significant reforms in recent years, particularly in good governance, transparency, and accountability. Strong, effective governance is the essential foundation for long-term and sustainable development. In recent years, we have taken important steps to improve financial public management, enhance parliamentary oversight, and promote public engagement. However, we are also aware that good governance is not a static achievement. It must be constantly renewed, especially in rapidly changing global and regional environments. In a world that's increasingly interconnected, Armenia has embraced digital transformation as a means of improving government services. Through initiatives like e-governance and the Digital Armenia project, we've made it easier for our citizens to access services. We have reduced opportunities for corruption and increased efficiency in public administration. At this point, I want to highlight the critical role that parliamentarians play in translating the priorities of the Avaza Programme of Action international legislations and policies, promoting good governance and accountability. Parliamentarians are the architects of reform, the ones who craft laws, oversee their implementation, and hold governments accountable to the people. But this is not just about Armenia. It's a challenge for all LLDCs. Parliamentarians across our countries must unite to strengthen their roles as catalysts for change. Through multi-stakeholder partnership, they can work together with civil society, international organizations, the private sector, and local communities to craft action plans for sustainable development. In Armenia, we actively promote multi-stakeholder cooperation, collaboration, engaging civil society, the private sector, development agencies, and academia in the policy-making process. Armenia has made a concerted effort to engage in multi-stakeholder cooperation as part of our reform agenda. By working with regional organizations, international bodies, and private sector partners, we have been able to implement projects that align with our development goals. In conclusion, the active and meaningful engagement of parliamentarians is crucial to ensure that the Avaza Programme of Action moves from commitment to concrete action. The responsibility falls on us all, governments, parliaments, civil society, and international partners, and it is to ensure that reforms are not only put in place, but also felt by people we serve. Having the strong mandate from their populations, parliamentarians can help ensure that LLDCs achieve meaningful progress toward long-lasting peace, sustainable development, and economic diversification. Allow me to reaffirm that Armenia remains fully committed to working with all interested stakeholders in the spirit of solidarity and shared progress. I thank you.
Mr. Gaspatin Tunyan, thank you for your meaningful speech. Dear colleagues, next floor is given Assistant of the General Assembly of the UN, Executive Director. Please, you are welcome.
Parliamentarians, colleagues, it's a huge pleasure for me to be here with you, and I'm deeply grateful to the Mejlis of Turkmenistan, of course, the Office of the High Representatives of the LDCs, landlocked countries, and the SIDS, and of course, IPU, for organizing this important and very, very timely debate. As has been said, we're gathering here today under the banner of the International Year of Peace and Trust. And though I am an economist, I'm reminded here today that progress and sustainable development doesn't just begin with economic policy making. It actually begins with a very priceless commodity, and that is trust. And how we build trust, that is through governance. Governance that is inclusive, transparent, and accountable. Accountable to the people it serves, especially those most at risk to be left behind, and that includes children. As UNICEF, the United Nations Children Fund, we operate in 190 countries and territories. We're active in every landlocked country, all of your countries. And we have seen that where governance is equitable, responsive, and inclusive, development gains are stronger, deeper, better, and more sustainable. But we're also aware that you are under pressure, under very real pressure. Resource limitations, capacity gaps, complex development priorities to deal with, and rising public expectations. You are not in an easy spot. But you, as parliamentarians, have an absolutely critical role to play in setting the right national priorities, in scrutinizing policies and budgets, and ensuring that development policies lead to real gains for real people in real life. And that is why we, as UNICEF, work with parliamentarians across the world, but especially also in landlocked countries, to strengthen the very foundations of governance, because your decisions matter for the people we aim to serve, the pin-sized citizens in your countries. Let me share a few examples with you so you have an idea of what we do. For example, in Lao PDR, we supported the National Assembly to strengthen the capacity of the Social and Cultural Committee to ensure that national budgets and spending are much more responsive to the needs of children and women. In Burkina Faso, UNICEF worked with parliamentarians to improve budgetary transparency and oversight, particularly related to health and education, social services on which children depend. Here in Turkmenistan, UNICEF works very closely with the Mejlis and with the Ministry of Health to update the national law on breastfeeding based on the international code, and we work with nationwide promotion of breastfeeding among pregnant women. In Nepal, for example, we supported the parliament to host and convene the first South Asia Parliamentarian Platform for Children, bringing together lawmakers in the entire region to share good practices, reinforce commitments, and explore coordinated action on children's rights. Those are the types of initiatives that I think demonstrate the value of the sustained partnerships that we as UNICEF build, that go beyond words and policy dialogues, and really strengthen the capacity of the institutions that protect rights and deliver results for the people you serve. But I'm aware that decision-making processes often fail to incorporate the lived realities of people at the margins of society. Sometimes those are women, they can be children, people with disabilities or marginalized communities. And it is upon you as parliamentarians to close those gaps, to bring them into the mainstream, and to create platforms for a diverse variety of voices to be heard. That too is an area where UNICEF is very active because it matters for the decisions that you take. We offer 3 key areas of collaboration with parliamentarians. 1, strengthening parliamentary oversight through a Child Rights Committee. We support the creation of dedicated child rights committees within national parliaments and bodies mandated to systemically review legislation, budgets, and policies through a child-focused lens, ensuring that every decision you take meets the needs of the children, which is the future of your countries. 2, institutionalizing child and youth participation in governance, working together with civil society and parliament to make sure that children's voices are heard. And we advocate for formal mechanisms to legislative processes so that youth voices aren't just heard, but really also taken into account when you take decisions on budgets and policies. And 3, engagement through digital innovation. We've invested a lot in a system and a tool that is called U-Report, that is now active in 90 countries, that enable young people to share their views on critical issues. Could be education, could be climate change, could be child protection. And it offers you real-time feedback and information that is useful when you have to take decisions. Parliamentarians, colleagues, honorable friends, we call on all of you, development partners, including the wider UN system and parliamentarians, to align support behind country-led governance priorities and to ensure that governance instruments reach those that are left furthest behind. At UNICEF, we work to scale up child rights budgeting support to help parliamentarians track are your decisions serving children, to invest in data systems and child and civic engagement platforms that improve transparency, responsiveness, and equity. And we advocate globally for fiscal space in social investments, despite your debt pressures and external shocks. In conclusion, as we embark on the implementation of the Vienna Programme of Action, we reaffirm our commitment to work with you, parliamentarians and wider UN development systems and CSOs to build governance systems that are not only strong, but that are fair and inclusive and trusted by the people they serve. Because governance that works for children is governance that will work for for everybody. Thank you.
Dear Mrs. Gitter van der Heyden, would like to express our gratitude for your fundamental speech, and taking opportunity would like to wish you every success in your activities. Dear colleagues, with a great respect, would like to give the floors to the co-organizer second training in Central Asia on enhancing Kaken Hansa, please. The floor is given to you.
I'm delighted and honored to address this distinguished forum as special representative of the Secretary General. Now, given Parliament's crucial role in ensuring that legal and policy frameworks are in place for due implementation of key international documents, this forum is also very important for enacting the Avaza Program of Action. Now, it has mentioned by many previous speakers that parliaments take an active part in facilitating dialogue and collaboration between governments, private sector, and civil society and other stakeholders to facilitate trade, enhance infrastructure, spur development, and regional cooperation. So this forum is also a vital platform for inclusive and forward-looking global engagement, particularly in our times of geopolitical divide and polarization. And let me also note that today's event is so much in line with the International Year of Peace and Trust initiated by Turkmenistan at the United Nations. It has been mentioned, I will repeat, that trust today is the very much needed commodity. And my entire work in the region is really based on enhancing trust as the foundation for prevention. After all, I am heading the special political mission, which is the Center for Preventive Diplomacy for Central Asia. Now, I can't resist by saying a few words about the region itself. Today, Central Asia, which, as you know, comprises 5 countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, offers a compelling example of pragmatic regionalism, where states are building dialogue, connectivity, and mutual trust rather than drifting apart. This upward trend is demonstrated in action, and most notably, the peaceful resolution of long-standing border issues between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. And today, Central Asia is remarkably free of open tensions, which is really a rare achievement in today's global context. Central Asian states are increasingly emerging as credible middle powers, championing the global peace agenda, upholding the UN Charter, and advocating for collective responses to global threats. In the face of intersecting crises from geopolitical divide to terrorism and climate shocks, regional cooperation is not optional, but an essential necessity. The region is particularly vulnerable to climate change, from glacier melt to growing water scarcity and desertification. Joint efforts on water management, energy cooperation, and disaster risk reduction, as well as coordinated responses to security threats, are vital for collective resilience. Central Asia's commitment to solidarity is a powerful counterpoint to those global trends of fragmentation. Central Asia is redefining itself and its place on the international scene, not only as a vital transit and energy corridor linking Europe and South Asia, but also as a catalyst for broader economic integration, climate resilience, and peace and trust. The regular consultative meeting of the heads of states of Central Asia illustrate the maturity of regional diplomacy and deepening sense of collective responsibility for peace and development. The region's convening power is also evident in its expanding participation in CIP5+1 formats with key international partners and its growing role within the regional multilateral organizations. Central Asian countries have also played a constructive and principled role in relation to Afghanistan. And immediate neighbors, they recognize that Afghanistan's future is tied to the region's own security and prosperity. The United Nations commends their continued engagement, whether through humanitarian support, sustained dialogue, or investment in cross-border connectivity and development. The region is actively shaping a new connectivity architecture through flagship initiatives such as Trans-Caspian International Transport Route, the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan Railway, and the Uzbekistan-Afghanistan-Pakistan Corridor, to mention a few. These projects not only strengthen economic ties, they position Central Asia as a resilient and indispensable hub in global trade and transit flows, which is very important for landlocked developing region. The United Nations deeply values the principal engagement of Central Asian member states in global multilateral processes. This is strongly reflected in their support for the Pact of the Future, a visionary document that aims to reaffirm the United Nations Charter, reinvigorate multilateralism, and forge common responses to 21st century challenges such as digital governance, peace building, and sustainability. Now, apart from what I had just mentioned, the work of the UNRCCA, the special political mission that I'm heading, is also focused on a number of other pillars that help to advocate preventive diplomacy, boost cooperation, and enhance trust building. And to promote women, peace, and security agenda, we have co-founded together with member states and the Women Leaders Caucus, Central Asian Women Leaders Caucus, and we do support current presidency of Tajikistan in this caucus. This format is to engage and increase engagement in relations of women empowerment and mobilize action in Central Asia. Now, the caucus has also increased its engagement on issues related to the rights of women in Afghanistan, which is reflected in their participation in various events. In the field of youth, peace, and security, UNRCCA's Preventive Diplomacy Academy launched its 7th academic year, welcoming 2025 cohort of 48 selected youth from Central Asia and Afghanistan, 4 girls and 4 boys from each country, who are trained on topics like conflict prevention, multilateralism, functioning of the UN system, human rights, climate change, gender equality, cybersecurity, and diplomacy. As the UNRCCA, together with the Office of Counterterrorism of United Nations and in partnership with other UN entities, CTAD to start with, we support the implementation of the UN Global Counterterrorist Strategy in Central Asia, which is based on the Joint Plan of Action, first adopted in Ashgabat in 2011 and subsequently renewed and endorsed in Tashkent in 2022. I mean, this is a work in progress, and this project that started in 2010 is evolving, responding to the exigencies of the day and existing and mounting challenges. And we're now in the 4th phase of this project, as a matter of fact. Our regional center has been offering much needed platform for dialogue on climate and transboundary water management based on the strategy for supporting cooperation among Central Asian states on water, energy, environment, and climate. The current strategy was covering period for 2022-2025, and now the new strategy that we're developing will cover a period until 2030. As United Nations Special Political Mission in the region, we do remain fully committed to supporting dialogue, building trust, and advancing a regional vision rooted in peace, resilience, shared progress, and of course based on trust. And I'm very much hopeful that results and outcomes of this conference and of course ultimately the AVASA program of action will have its durable impact for the delivery on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Dear Mr. Just you have told about the work which implemented in the Central Asia. Dear participants of the conference, I would like to express our great gratitude for your speech. Thank you very much. And we continue our work of the section here. We have guests from the Parliament, Zimbabwe, and the next floor is given to the representative from Zimbabwe.
All protocols observed. Honorable Chair, fellow delegates, allow me to begin by acknowledging that landlocked countries face challenges, unique challenges due to their lack of direct access to seaports, which increases trade costs, limits market access, and hinders economic growth. I come from Zimbabwe, a landlocked country in Africa. Our trade relies heavily on transit through neighboring countries, which highlights the need for increased investment in infrastructure, particularly roads and railways, to enhance connectivity. Zimbabwe shares borders with two main countries, that is Mozambique and South Africa, which provide access to ports. Additionally, countries like Zambia and the Democratic Republic of Congo rely on the transport network in Zimbabwe to connect them to the port in Mozambique. This situation illustrates the challenges we face regarding transport costs. To improve trade, we must focus on developing and upgrading road and railway infrastructure, as well as maintaining the existing infrastructure at the national, sub-regional, and regional levels. Dry ports and one-stop border crossings are critical for improving trade efficiency in landlocked countries. Without direct access to seaports, as one of the landlocked developing countries, we face high transport costs, delays, and bureaucratic hurdles at multiple transit points. Think of a trunk which has to pass through 4 countries. In light of that, dry ports and inland logistics hubs connected to major transport networks must act as extensions of seaports, enabling cargo consolidation, customs clearance, and smoother transshipment. Moreover, all landlocked development countries should have one-stop border crossings to streamline trade by allowing coordinated inspections between neighboring countries and reducing waiting times. These infrastructure and procedural improvements cut transit times. They lower trade costs and enhance our competitiveness, enabling better integration into regional and global markets. Investing in such solutions is essential to overcoming the geographical disadvantage that hinder our economic growth. Landlocked development countries must finally harness the benefits of a firm, rules-based multilateral trading system to overcome their structural trade disadvantages. An open, predictable, and inclusive global trade framework free from discrimination and inequity is essential to ensure that regardless of size, population, or development level, we can participate meaningfully in international trade. Simplifying complex rules of origin is particularly crucial, as cumbersome requirements often prevent many landlocked development countries from maximizing preferential trade agreements. By advocating for streamlined trade rules and equitable market access, we can reduce dependency on transit routes, lower trade costs, and integrate more effectively into global value chains. A strengthened multilateral system must prioritize our unique needs, enable sustainable economic growth, and reduce disparities in global trade. To create a more equitable global trading system that empowers landlocked development countries, we must prioritize improving market access by dismantling structural barriers that disappropriately or disproportionately hinder their economic potential. Currently, both developed and advanced developing countries employ high tariffs, tariff escalation, and peak tariffs to shield sensitive industry sectors, effectively locking us out of high-value markets. Compounding this challenge, non-tariff barriers such as complex sanitary standards further constrain export opportunities. These protectionist measures stifle industrialization in our countries by discouraging investment in value-added production, perpetuating reliance on low-margin commodity exports. A crucial priority for empowering landlocked development countries is breaking their dependence on volatile primary commodity exports by fostering economic diversification and value addition. Currently, many landlocked development countries remain trapped in a high-risk export model. Over 60% rely on minerals and unprocessed agricultural products for over 70% of export earnings, leaving them acutely vulnerable to commodity price crashes and demand shocks. To transform this paradigm, the multilateral system must invest in productive capacities, funding industrial parks and agro-processing zones, to enable local value addition. For example, polishing diamonds instead of exporting raw stones. Without such interventions, we will remain locked in a commodity dependence trap, exporting raw materials only to re-import finished goods at inflated prices. A redesigned trading system must convert their natural wealth into sustainable industrial development. A transformative approach to boosting trade for landlocked development countries lies in strengthening regional and sub-regional transit facilitation agreements, which serve as critical building blocks for broader multilateral trade integration. In Africa, the African Continental Free Trade Area represents a groundbreaking opportunity to overcome the inherent disadvantages we faced by creating a unified market of 1.3 billion people across 55 nations. However, for us to fully benefit, this continental framework must be complemented by targeted transit agreements that specifically address their unique challenges. Prohibitive transit costs, cumbersome border procedures, and inadequate transport corridors. The African Free Trade Area's potential is exemplified by Zambia's 32% increase in regional exports after joining COMESA's simplified trade regime, proving that multilateral systems work when tailored for landlocked developing countries' realities. In conclusion, a truly inclusive multilateral system must recognize the landlocked developing countries face 50% higher transport costs than coastal neighbors. By implementing these targeted measures, we can transform the landlocked development countries from transit-dependent economies to competitive trade partners, ultimately strengthening global economic reliance. I thank you.
Thank you, dear colleague, for your fundamental meaning, dear participants of the conference. All speech are made in this session. If you have any questions, if you have any statements, you are welcome.
Khandaha. I am a member of the National Assembly from Pakistan. I think it's the topic is very, very important, and Pakistan is committed to this through various projects, especially linking Central Asia to South Asia with the energy projects like TAPI, rail projects from Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, UAP, digital connectivity through fiber optic to Turkmenistan. I think any new projects or which can help the landlocked countries would be most welcome, and Central Asian countries which are landlocked can get seaport access to Arabian Sea through Gwadar and Karachi in Pakistan. There's a Wakhan corridor in Afghanistan which can be used for Pakistan, China, Tajikistan to get to the sea. So for all this, I think this can explore full potential of the countries which are landlocked and have a big opportunity if they have proper access. And Pakistan is committed to that, and which can encourage trade, export, import, and different energy transfers and technology transfers. Thank you.
Dear guests, thank you very much for your statement, for your speech. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Let me conclude today's work of the third session. I would like to express our deep gratitude for the conducting of our conference and active participation, and with success we wish every success in your work and building peace, trust, and for the accountable governance.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Madam, I'm so sorry. I'm late. I was just finishing so many other things. How are you? I'm sending a very strong message. Huh?
Дамы и господа, мы начинаем. Пожалуйста, пройдите на места все. Да, последняя сессия, пожалуйста. Уважаемые участники, yığındaklara geçti.
your
you.